Okay, good morning, everybody. We're going to get started here.
So on behalf of Miskanawah, I'm the lead Escapios, Kisiniwas Ninapesis, Sagiti Kupita, and welcome to Miskanawah's annual truthing ceremony. Some of the things I want to share with you this morning to get the pipe going is as Miskanawah continues to explore, embrace, and understand the teachings of pre-natural law, we recognize each and every day that there's just so much. And each year, our offerings, how we set our intentions, how we show up, how we invite and meet families shifts and changes. And that's exciting for us. And you guys are all sitting here with our annual truthing ceremony, but what a lot of you don't know is that these truthing ceremonies take place throughout the year. When we first started, it was an annual activity, it was an annual ceremony, but it's grown to something that we've just embraced in our practice. So our oral truthings take place throughout the year and often individual program wise, and there's oral truthing ceremonies that are happening, and I'm not even aware of it because the teams are just doing it with their families, with their youth, and with each other. And so our oral truthing is something that keeps us on track. It's kind of like our compass and our North Star, our guiding light. It helps us to embrace those Wokodoan teachings and continue to be curious on how we live them in serving and supporting vulnerable families, in supporting each other in the work that we do. We recognize too that the teachings of Escapios, helper of elders in ceremony, helpers of ceremony, is that when you're supporting somebody in their healing journey, when you're supporting somebody in addressing trauma or whatever that need might be, we acknowledge that as a ceremony. And so we acknowledge the teaching that practice is ceremony, practice as ceremony. And so as Escapios, you have those teachings, those protocols to support that journey. And there was a time, in Miskanawah's journey, 35 years ago, 37, maybe it's 38, I don't know. But where Pat and I were the only ones out at the lodge. Where Pat and I we'd go out there, it would be an all-day thing, hauling grandfathers, chopping wood. But those are great memories. And to give you a sense of where we came from, we would build these lodge on crown land, on private land, and sometimes we'd show up at our lodge and it wouldn't be there. Like there was a couple times where the province just came in and bulldozed our sweat lodge because they didn't understand. They didn't know what we were doing, what we were trying to create. And so finding a home fire for our sweat lodge has always been a goal and a priority. And we're getting closer. We're not there yet, but we're getting closer. Nobody's bulldozing our sweat lodges down anymore, which is a good thing. But there's a time where Pat and I were doing all of that, where we'd be sitting in the lodge just by ourselves, and it didn't matter whether it was -30. We didn't have the shelter and the posh things that you have today out on the land. But what's also shifted and changed is that, and you'll see some of that today, is this transfer of rights, transfer of teachings and protocols. And we hear that from other elders. Pat and I chat, and Patsy and I chat, and the elders talk to them about what they observe, what they see, what they witness at Miskanawah here, and you'll see some of that on how different people will speak and sing those traditional songs and those protocols. There's people in this circle here that can conduct our sweat lodge ceremony, and Pat and I and Patsy don't even need to be there because we've transferred those teachings. Miskanawah, some of you don't know this, but Miskanawah is a spirit. Miskanawah has it's a pipe, and it's something that we'll use today. This is Miskanawah's pipe. It's not Kirby's, it's not Pat's. Yes, we're responsible for taking care of it. We're also responsible for transferring those teachings and those rights so that when we're not here, Miskanawah's spirit, Miskanawah's intention, vision, and mission continues on. And so we're at that stage now where we're starting to transfer those teachings and those rights, and it exists within this circle here. And that's exciting to think that, long after we're gone, we know that Miskanawah is going to continue to grow and flourish, and that's something to celebrate in of itself. And so I welcome you. I invite you to be curious. We're here listening to stories of impact, stories of healing and growing, stories of challenges, and some of it'll be heavy. But because we like to smudge and we smoke the pipe, we understand that we invite our grandfathers and grandmothers to come and watch over each of us in that journey. And so when families and individuals step up and share their stories of impact, they're held by the grandfathers and grandmothers, by their grandfathers and grandmothers, and they're taken care of. And that's part of the healing journey. And so Naskamona, we thank you. Kananaskamotin, we thank you for coming and sharing your stories of impact with us. And so with that, I'm going to hand it over to Pat, and we're going to start our pipe ceremony. Talking too long.
So late comers can sit in the back.
Some people can sit there.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to sit in the front row, you guys. I got the drum. Apparently, if you talk too long, you get the drum. Good.
Yeah.
Oh, greatest name. Welcome, brothers and sisters, cousins, relations, barn wine from all nations. Thank you. In the Creator's name, you look at how we parallel oral and Western systems here today. Today we sit in a circle, listen to songs, pipe, very sacred songs. Now we're going to parallel it to the Western way of doing things by doing an oral report amongst the witnesses. So listen very carefully. Feel the energy that's inside here, that what we can create. And it's so powerful in its own way. And that's why I'm still here with Miskanawah, because they have faith and believe in this way, but also with our Western brothers and sisters. We don't like to see people sitting over there inside a silo and looking at the Indians wondering what they're doing. It's the same thing with Indians wondering what the Western people are doing. It's time to break those barriers down, people. And that's what Miskanawah has been doing. So with that, I'll hand it over to White Turtle Woman. Thank you. Oh.
Thank you, Patrick. In Creator's name, my name is Wape Miskanawah. I have the honor of being your moderator today. I got all my inappropriate jokes out this morning before I came, so I'm good to go. Kirby will be proud. Just before we move into some of our sharing from our relatives, we want to talk a little bit about Miskanawah's 4 core teachings. So the teaching that I'll be talking about today is the teaching of Wakotowin, and that means living in relationship. It's free for natural law. And then I'll pass it over to the other managers to introduce themselves and teachings that they're going to talk about.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ira, and I'm White Eagle Woman. That's the name given by elders here. And I'm at Miskanawah, we embrace the teaching of Neopamatsuwin, and that means living the good life, living in balance, thinking of ourselves as a whole, our spiritual self, our physical self, mental and emotional. And we share that with our relatives in our programming, in our dealings with each other. And it's also about living in reciprocity with the land, with our community, and ourselves and our own families. So that's an teaching we embrace. I'm just I know there's gonna be a video that we're going to share and watch for those stories and how those teachings are shared.
Good morning, in Creator's name. My spirit name is Kihu Pepikwanswell. My given name is Paige. I am going to share about Nagatoki, which I've asked many times this morning how to say it and been given many different answers. So I'll wait for correction later, Patrick and Patricia. I think in its simplest form, Nagatoki speaks to being careful and being safe. It's safe with ourselves, it's safe with others. It's how we show up in our relationships and the work that we do. But most importantly, when I think about Nagatoki, I think about being careful and being safe and how we protect the smudge, how we protect this way of knowing and being, how we protect our elders, and how we protect the traditions that are being passed on to the people that are coming up. You know, not only those of us that sit in the circle today, but our children and their children and those 7 generations to come. So when you see our video, there's many instances that if you listen carefully, you'll see how Nagatoki is represented and how that idea of being careful and being safe is presented in many different interactions and ways within the story, and how the individual travels through Miskanawah. So, my relation.
Good morning, my name's Jennifer. I'll share a little bit about teaching Miskanawah. So that's a teaching about social inclusion and this idea that we are all well together. So we're taught that when we learn and grow and learn from our elders and receive teachings, it's then our responsibility to share that with the next generation or the people coming up behind us. So Miskanawah is really about this idea that I help you and you help me, and we all get better together.
Thank you, Jennifer. So we are going to move into a couple of videos right now. The first video that you'll see is the 4 of us sharing a story about what a journey through Miskanawah might look like for people, and it is based on people who we see come through our programs. And then we'll move into a video by Kirby talking about our land base, Asti Matsuin. And I encourage you guys to think about how you see these teachings reflected in these stories and videos that we're going to share today.
You won't find it on a map or glimpse it from the road, but if you follow the river up the hill on a clear morning, you might catch the scent of sweetgrass or hear the low hum of voices carried by the prairie wind. There, nestled among the trees, stands a small, dome-shaped lodge made from canvas and willow branches. A sweat lodge, built with care by our community under the guidance of elders. This is a place of healing, the elders often say. You don't come here to be fixed. You come here to remember who you are. It's true. The lodge is a place that calls you back when you need it the most, where stories are held with care and even the silence speaks. Here, where the smoke rises and prayers are carried skyward, is where our story begins. It's a story of Miskanawah, Nagatoki, Mi'opamatsuin, and as well with all of our stories, it's about Wakotawin.
Maya was new to the area, 12, Métis, and quiet. She carried her Kukum's teachings in her heart, but hadn't found many places to share them. One of her teachers noticed how withdrawn she was and gently suggested that she check out a local program called Diamond Willow Youth Lodge. There she met a few other kids who reminded her of home. They didn't ask too many questions, just offered her a seat in the circle. Over time, Maya noticed that she wasn't the only one who had been separated from her family and community. In truth, Maya had noticed that some of the kids didn't even know where they came from in the first place. But in this space, none of that really mattered. Not knowing was a part of what brought all of them together. One afternoon, while a group of young people were busy sewing ribbon skirts, someone mentioned that they had recently attended a sweat lodge ceremony. Maya immediately perked up, listening carefully over the sequence of sewing machines.
You should come, even if you don't go in,
They said.
Just come sit by the fire. Sometimes listening is enough.
So Maya came. She sat by the sacred fire where the grandfathers were heating up, glowing red under the watchful eyes of the firekeeper. People offered tobacco and smudged with sage. She could feel that the air was heavy with intention.
The elders welcomed everyone with a soft voice and a strong presence.
This lodge is ceremony. You don't need to know it all. You just need to show up with respect and humility. Inside, we are all equal.
Noden was there too, a boy who used a wheelchair and often felt left out in public spaces. But here, space had been made for him, physically and spiritually.
Raven, a young mother known for always arriving late but never missing a day, came hurrying up the pathway, her arms overflowing with more than she could carry. Her 2 small boys trailed close behind. At just 19, Raven had followed a young man down south to the city, only to find herself alone, struggling to raise her children, and yearning to return to the roots of her culture, to the songs, stories, and ceremonies that once grounded her spirit and connected her to her people. As she approached, the elders met her with kindness, offering her a braid of sweetgrass.
Carry this,
They said gently.
It reminds us to slow down, that our mind, body, and spirit are strongest when they move together.
Before they entered the lodge, people's attention was drawn to the side of the hill, where 2 young boys were throwing some rocks at fledgling magpies perched low in a nearby tree. The elder called,
Boys, come here and sit with me. I want to tell you about Wakotowin. It's about kinship.
She looked around the circle.
It means that we are all related, not just by blood, but by responsibility. The trees, the animals, the wind, all of us, we're bound by relationship. That means we don't turn our backs on each other. We treat the land and all of our relatives with kindness and respect. They're all a part of us. Wakotowin reminds us, when one of us hurts, we all feel it. And when one of us is lifted, we all rise.
Noden blinked, unsure. Maya stared at the fire, feeling something stir inside of her. She remembered her cookum telling her the same thing once, that even the moss on the rocks was a relative, deserving of care. When it was time, each of them quietly entered the lodge, shuffling around the circle, finding their place. Inside, the heat hugged them, thick with prayer and nervous anticipation. Soon the grandfathers sizzled as water was poured over them and steam rose like breath from the earth. Songs were sung. Prayers were spoken in Cree, English, and in quiet tears. In the dark, no one saw your face, but everyone felt your spirit. Noden spoke during the 3rd round.
I always thought I didn't belong anywhere,
He said, voice shaky.
but in here, I feel like I do. In here, I'm just like everybody else. You're exactly who you should be, and you are stronger than you think.
The elder said.
You always were. That's Wakotowin.
After the lodge, they sat by the fire, wrapped in blankets, passing bottles of water and individually wrapped bologna sandwiches.
Maya looked around the circle at Noden, Raven, the elders, and many others she didn't yet know by name. She felt safe. She felt seen. She felt part of something. Later that week, back in Diamond Willow Youth Lodge, Maya asked to use some art supplies. Over a large sheet of construction paper, she wrote, "This is a sacred place. Come with respect. You are not alone. Wakotowin, all my relations. Love lives here."
The lodge didn't erase hardship, but it created space to carry it together. And in that circle of heat, humility, and kinship, inclusion wasn't just an idea. It was a living teaching, practiced, remembered, and passed on.
Tansi, okay. My name is Kirby Redwood. I'm the lead Escapios at Miskanawah. My Cree name is Kasiniwasani Napesis, Old Man Rockboy, and my Blackfoot name is Agisi Dubita, Brave Eagle.
I want to talk a little bit about Askimatsuan. Land. Land gives life. Land is life. As Miskanawah continues to embrace our teachings of Vokodoan, how we lead with culture, we come to understand from our elders that while it's great to do traditional teachings, language classes within city on Zoom and on Teams, that when we're able to take those same teachings, those same opportunities, and invite our families to explore them out on the land, that it has a different impact. When we're able to acknowledge our natural laws within natural settings out on the land, the teachings become more than a teaching. It becomes a way of life, a way of connecting, a way for people to connect to their spirit, their own spirit, to the spirits of their grandfathers and grandmothers, to the spirit of Natawima, to the spirit of Creator. And so Askimatsuan has become a core strategy for Miskanawah in how we understand and embrace the teachings of Vokodoan and Simoksan, the Blackfoot parallel to Vokodoan, how we live in relationship, how we live in relationship with each other, with ourselves, with our spirits of our grandfathers and grandmothers, with the spirit of Mother Earth. And so while we can do some pretty amazing things within these concrete jungles, within these walls, within this city, within these rooms, yet we're able to create a different impact when we're out on the land with families. And so Askimatsuan has become another lens for Miskanawah to lead with culture, to explore how it influences us within our practice, within acknowledging natural laws, how we govern ourselves and hold ourselves accountable with our Indigenous strategy, with our Indigenous worldviews, and how they parallel and walk alongside the Western worldviews. That's where our traditional knowledge comes from. That's where our wisdoms passed down from our ancestors emerge from, and that are carried through various generations. The old camp values are about traditional teachings, cultural practices, and ceremonies, ways of knowing and being that have sustained communities for millennia. And so when we define ourselves as an Indigenous organization, we use these concepts, these teachings, these cultural protocols to do that. We don't strive to have 100% Indigenous representation in all positions. What we strive to do is ensure that the people that are part of our team, are part of our circles, embrace Vokodoan, embrace Simoksan, embrace our traditional values, and not only honor, respect them, but live them in many regards. And that's how we choose to define ourselves as an Indigenous organization, an agency that embraces those teachings, utilizing a lens and a framework similar to old camp, current camp, future camp. And so we talk about the old camp being our place of traditional knowledge. The current camp is about the present moment, how we live today, how the challenges that we face and the ways that we navigate life while still holding on to the cultural values and the traditional ways of knowing and being. So it's how do we take those teachings of the old camp and how they manifest themselves within, our current realities of today is a constant challenge. But when you use the frameworks, you're able to ground yourselves in those teachings and allow them to guide and influence our offerings, our offerings to each other, our offerings to the children and families we serve, recognizing that the relational piece to all of that. And when we talk about living in relationships, when in Wokotowin, living in relationships, kinship, it's relationships with each other, with Creator, with ourselves, with our spirit, with Mother Earth, Askimatswan. And so we utilize the old camp, current camp, future camp to do just that. So the current camp, it values the teachings of the old camp and how they're applied. And then we move forward to the future camp. And we always recognize and acknowledge that it's about the generations yet to come, the legacy that we leave behind for them. Indigenous teachings often emphasize, the thinking of 7 generations. This is about how we're leading today and how the values of vision and responsibility and care for future generations are driving some of that practice, are driving our understandings of Wokotowin and Simoksin and how directly connected they are to Askimatswan living on the land. So we're excited about this journey, and we invite all of our relatives to come and join us out on Askimatswan to Miskanawah, discover for themselves what that journey might look like for them. Hi, Ganaskamatin.
That's our favorite CEO because he's our only CEO. He doesn't have a lot of competition. Thank you for listening to those videos, and we hope that you saw our teachings reflected in those videos and the way that they guide our work. This next part that we're going to move into is the part that you've all been waiting for. That's the sharing from our relatives about the impact of Miskanawah. And the first portion is going to be a few pre-recorded sharings. So we'll turn our attention to the screen still.
Pathways on our song.
What honoring our lost spirit means to me. Honoring our lost spirits means reconnecting our soul, a journey of healing, and stepping into our role. Our people are lost, but it's time to be found. Taking back our culture for the children to be around. Each family reclaiming their history and past. We aren't the first, and we won't be the last. We are laying the way for the ones to come next. Our work is not done. Our hands cannot rest. By coming together to fight oppression as one, we can walk this path together. There is no need to run. We don't need to hide. We can be proud of where we're from. Hold our heads high for the next generation to come. Our ancestors watch over us, joining in ceremony and song. We call on them to teach us. How could that ever be wrong? In this space we can be true. We can speak freely and feel. This is our story to write and our wounds to heal. With our traditional tools like the rattle and drum, we wear our medicine pouches, in our ribbon skirts we come. With our elders and children, we learn all together how we can use rocks and make our bannock better. The elders, they tell us tales as old as time, and the children, they show us how to rap and rhyme. From each other we learn how to lean on one another, how to be sisters and daughters, moms and grandmothers. Honoring our lost spirits has our souls reconnected. Our healing journey is no longer neglected.
I appreciate Miskanawah for supporting my growth and trusting me with all these special kiddos. Each and every kiddo that has come into my home has been a blessing. I feel that Miskanawah staff are an extension of my family, and they make me feel loved and valued. I am absolutely passionate about my job and all the kiddos. They truly make my heart happy. Every day is a blessing with my big family, and I wouldn't want to live my life any other way.
I love that my step-grandpa and grandma come to my school concerts. I love that I have a big family with step-cousins. I get to do lots of activities like swimming, badminton, and rock climbing. I have lots of friends.
Hello, my name is Miskanawah. I am part of the Strengthening Home Fires program. I've been a part of this community since I want to say around Christmas time. And before coming into this program, I was in another program called Reset Society, and that is a program based on human trafficking and sexual exploitation. And then before that, I was living on the streets since I was around 13 years old back in Ontario. I was addicted to drugs, and I was sleeping around men that didn't respect me at all, and I wasn't in communication with my family. We didn't have a good relationship. There was a lot of messed up things that had happened to me throughout my lifetime. And I committed crimes for my addiction and to get out of things just so I can go to jail and be safe. 'Cause then I would have a roof over my head. I would be able to take a shower. I would be fed, and I would be able to sleep. So when I went to jail the last time I went in, I was sentenced to 2 years minus a day. So in total, I was supposed to do 18 months, but I ended up doing 17 months because I did lockdown for 1 month. And being in jail opened my eyes a lot. I started to become more clear in my head. I started to rest. I started to eat properly. I was doing my high school credits in there. I was talking to my family. And I knew during the end of my sentence that it was either I was going to go back out, relapse, and I was going to die. So I applied to a life skills program in Calgary, and I left to Calgary. But before coming to Calgary, I didn't know what my plan was. I didn't think I was going to start a life here, basically. And I'm so happy that I have, because there was so many opportunities that I worked so hard for, and I just feel like I was guided along the way. I know if I was doing it on my own, I wouldn't be able to do it on my own. So eventually I graduated from my old program, Reset Society, and now I'm in the subsidy housing program with Strengthening Home Fires. And I'm so grateful. This is my first apartment that I've ever had on my own. My own home to call home, because of living on the streets for so long. And I'm just grateful that I'm able to respect my home. I'm able to lay and rest somewhere and not feel scared that something's going to happen to me. And it's just an awesome feeling. I'm very grateful. You know, this program has changed me to see that I can be safe. I can make a living for myself. And I'm just happy. I'm so happy. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Now we're gonna move into the in-person component of our oral truthing. So I have a list of speakers here today, and in the audience, we have some staff, we have some speakers, we also have our funders. And you know, one of the things that I think that is really important in this process, and that is something sometimes a little bit frightening for us, is that when we do written reports to funders, we get to decide what the stories we share. And, you know, we try to like share the best stories of us ever, right? And but when we're in this space, and our elders cautioned us on this when we started with this process. They said, when we smoke the pipe and we light the smudge, you're not always going to know what people are going to say, what people are going to share. And we've had to be humble a lot of the times. And we've heard some really difficult things, but those are the things that help us to learn. And so what I would invite each of you to speak freely and speak from your heart. And don't worry about us, because at the end of the day, it's not about me, it's not about Kirby, it's not about our elders, but it's about our children, and ensuring that we do this work in a good way for them and for the children in each of us who never got a chance in a space to heal. So I'll say that much, right? But too much probably. Our first speaker that we have is Shay. Is Shay? Oh, hi, Shay.
She got a haircut.
Yeah, Shay got a haircut.
I thought I'd be laughed.
Oh, you're welcome.
No. Hello, everyone. In creator's name, I am Shay, White Buffalo Man, Wapaska, Pasquale, Mostos. Thank you for the honor to share my path with Miskanawah. I've been on short-term disability as a result of recent trauma to my daughter, which resulted in depression, anxiety, and PTSD. I felt at the starting of my spiritual healing and cultural reconnection that I was having a nervous and emotional breakdown. Then I spoke with a friend who turned out to be an elder. He asked me, do you feel you may be having a spiritual awakening? This prompted me to reach out for support, and I discovered Miskanawah. My time utilizing Miskanawah has been very powerful and healing for me. My initial contact was Lynette. I couldn't have asked for a more beautiful spirit to introduce me to Miskanawah. She continues to encourage my cultural reconnection and spiritual healing through different programs. Elder Connection and Men's Circle, the meal. Sweat Lodge, been to a couple of those with elders Pat, Tricia, Scapulos, Chris, George. Home Fire Program introduced me to Paige, Tracy, and Dendai. They've been amazing emotional and financial support for me while I navigate maintaining a home and continue healing. I'm currently part of the Cadet program, and feel the support that I'm receiving will help me transition back to work, normal life, physically, mentally, and emotionally and spiritually strong. So very grateful. My relations, my
Juliana. I don't think she was able to make it, but I have her story.
Oh, you're gonna read it?
Yeah.
Okay.
From the moment I set foot in Diamond Willow Youth Lodge, I felt a sense of welcoming and belonging that is rarer to find as a two-spirit queer Indigenous person in Alberta. I first started attending Diamond Willow Youth Lodge on a whim from seeing a poster promoting a workshop that was upcoming at the time, a Moontime teaching workshop, if I remember correctly. Upon attending for the first time, I quickly acquired a paper version of the Diamond Willow monthly calendar and had a chance to ask questions about programming in the lodge. I am mostly alone in the city, with my nearest family living on reserve far beyond the city limit, with the majority of family members not being involved in my life and not making it to the city very often. My close family lives in Saskatchewan, which is where I grew up. I came to Calgary for better opportunities that tend to come with living in a big urban center. That being said, it's easy to feel lost as an Indigenous person in urban centers, as it's hard to find ceremonies to attend, transportation to those ceremonies, and cultural programming that is also free. Most importantly, it's hard to find other Indigenous people that feel relatable as an Indigenous to us LGBTQ+ youth. Needless to say, Diamond Willow filled a void that I was unaware and created, or unaware of the degree and depth of my emptiness, until how abundantly full my metaphorical cup was filled. Because of Diamond Willow, I gained friends, peers, a sense of kinship to people that I never had to explain myself to or feel the need to conform to any certain mold. I feel very much a part of something bigger than just me, a community of bright and kind Indigenous youth that inspire me to keep chasing my dreams and aspiring for more. I hadn't realized it, but due to the scarcity in other places of the city to access free cultural programming, I began to feel selfish for wishing for such programming. I began to dream less and want for less, as I felt I couldn't possibly receive access to so many activities and events that my soul had been longing for. I began to accept that maybe I wouldn't feel as connected as an Indigenous person in the city or without my family on reserve, and I was feeling lonely. I can pray, laugh, or feel any wave of emotion that comes through me at Diamond Willow and feel safe. I can connect to my culture with elders. I can come and be nourished and hydrated without question. The lodge is a lifeline for youth like me in every possible sense, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Since becoming a frequent visitor to the lodge, I've never felt alone in the city. I know that I have at least one community surrounding me that cares for my well-being and recognizes me as an individual. I feel seen, heard, and cared for. I feel hopeful about my future as well as those of my peers. As long as the lodge exists, I know that our vibrant community will continue to thrive and look out for each other. I am endlessly grateful for a place like Diamond Willow in Calgary and wish for any other Indigenous youth living in urban centers to have a space like mine.
Next we have Alexis. Alexis, I could say.
Yeah. Alexis, yeah. I've been feeling lately more than ever that taking care of my body or mind isn't enough for that. Sorry. I feel like I'm not always allowed to talk about my spirits, or that it's not maybe accepted to talk about outside of Indigenous circles. But what really helps me is to know that you don't have to be alone when experiencing that. And sometimes I feel very disconnected from myself, my spirit, the land, my community, and others. but I know that connection can never be severed. And something I've been reflecting on is that I think no matter what happens or what we do to others or to our earth, that there is still unconditional care and love for all of us. No matter what. And I want to continue my journey of understanding how I can express my care and love for others and the land. So having access to community and others to even listen to that feels really good. And I feel honored to be able to listen to others as well. So I'm very grateful. Thank you. High five.
One of the things that I should have mentioned when I was opening was that each of the speakers you're hearing today are from a different program within Miskanawah, but some of them do access many programs across Miskanawah. So far you've heard from our housing program, our youth lodge, as well as our youth employment program. And next I have Jade. Prevention of tobacco, and Jade is connected with us through Honoring Families program, which helps to support other FRNs in working with Indigenous people.
Thank you for having me today. At my core, public speaking makes me really nervous. I've kind of been sweating about it for a couple of days, but the impact the Honoring Indigenous Families Resource Bank has had on me and the meaningful connections I made with Holly moved me to be here today. I simply couldn't miss the opportunity to express my gratitude. While I was working as a manager of the counseling team at Karya, we were spoken the FRN, I was seeking meaningful and impactful training for my teams, driven by a deep commitment to truth and reconciliation and the calls to action. As a settler to these lands and a leader at Karya, I felt a strong responsibility to ensure that our family serving programs were grounded in culturally respectful practices. It was a priority for me that our teams receive training on how to provide services in a good way. Holly came into my life in August 2024 with her invitation to traditional teachings on Pigeon Stage at the Anne and Sandy Cross Conservation Area. If you haven't been there, it's amazing. It's 4,800 acre conservation area, spectacular. And Holly and Josh led the group participants through traditional practices of collecting sage, passed down from traditional knowledge keepers. We learned that sage is a secret medicine traditionally used in smudging ceremonies. We were also taught how to harvest, respectfully ensuring that it continues to grow and thrive for future generations. Both Holly and Josh took the time to answer all of our questions. We have a lot on everything from understanding traditional practices to how to properly smudge and how to engage our staff in learning. Thank God I wrote it down. That day out on the lands left a lasting impression on me. I honestly learned so much, especially about the cultural significance of wearing a skirt while participating in cultural gatherings. It inspired me so deeply that I jumped on the next opportunity to make my own ribbon skirt. I was probably the first email that you received when the invitation went out. Was so excited. I think I signed up and then it got canceled. So it got rescheduled, which was fantastic. And I really wanted to learn all about ribbon skirts and the significance and what it means. And as someone who loves to sew, I was thrilled to participate. And I got to meet Bertha. And she's fabulous. And just the day was so magical. We made a skirt with pockets. So thank you. And I realized that it was everything I was missing from my life. A time to be able to sit with other women, to create and to learn from one another. We all had different levels of experience and everybody was so supportive. There was a person in our group who had never even seen a sewing machine before. And she made the most beautiful skirt. And we all did. And I've been really proud to have this skirt and the opportunity that I had to make it. And it's been very important. I've worn it to a grandmother's tea ceremony and several large community gatherings. And I always think about the day fondly. In my leadership role, I spend so much time at my desk. and in meetings. So to be giving these chances to step away from my desk and to learn in an engaging, hands-on way has been an incredible gift to me. I truly want to thank Holly for her work in creating such meaningful opportunities to the FRNs. It's just been a learning that I don't think I would have gotten from just sitting in something, to be out on the land and to learn in a different way, in a great way. It's been incredible. And I'm really sorry, but I've told everybody about it. So I'm sure you've got lots of people calling you. So I'm probably to blame for that, because I just talked to everybody about it. I'm beyond grateful. The experiences that I had went far beyond formal training could offer. They've given me a richer appreciation and a more meaningful understanding. These moments have had a profound impact, and I carry them with me, changed for the better as I work my way through my own cultural humility. I look forward to continuing my relationship, and I'd love to. So thank you so much for having me today. I think you do incredible work.
Okay, next up we have Stephanie with the FRN Early Intervention and Rehabilitation Team. Oh, Stephanie's gonna make it. Okay. We'll move to Misty from the FRN Cultural Creek class. This is with the two small children, so I was like, oh, they're not small.
I'm Misty. This is my daughter Emily. I do have my son over there, Michael, the curly-headed one. So not small, but we've lived here in Calgary. I grew up here all my life. My family's from Winnipeg, so but born and raised in Calgary for me and my kids. We also, like for me, I've never had any of the cultural background growing up. That was taken away, obviously. And the one thing my grandma always wished, and we have a really good connection, was that she got introduced more into it as she was younger, or she kept it, and she never did. But that, and we always found we couldn't either access programs either when I was younger, and we stumbled upon this program just online on Facebook. I saw an advertisement for a bunch of programs. Didn't really see, like always wanted to join, but didn't really feel, I guess, like I could. And when the Cree one came, I thought that would be really good for my kids and for us to just help bridge that gap, that generation gap. So my grandma never knew her language, my mom, I don't. So I'm hoping my kids will learn, and so will I, and keep growing that way and make my grandma proud. It's been, sorry. I recently lost my mom, and so it came at a good time. We started in April, and it got me out of the house and just spending personal time with my kids, where I didn't have to really think about it too much. So I didn't think I'd get this emotional, but it's okay. But we come to class and it's joyful for us. Lots of jokes, and you feel welcome and like you have a larger family than maybe you have now. So it's important for me. And I'm really thankful for the opportunity. It kind of brought me a little bit back out of my shell. And I hope they're having fun. They seem to enjoy it. It's really great to watch them come home sometimes and use those words that I didn't really know existed or how to say. and to see them grow that way is fantastic. I appreciate the class and the opportunity, and I really hope it continues. Just listening to everybody's stories is great. The impact that this place offers, and helping everybody is amazing. Thank you.
Next, I have Nadine with Netsnack. Did Nadine make it?
Yeah, she made it.
I have to give you the right card because I gave you the wrong card. Make sure I get your card right.
Hi, my name is Nadine. I moved here 2 years ago, pregnant, scared, with my 2 daughters. And I remember thinking and feeling that, like scared, not knowing anybody. I was in a women's shelter. I wanted to do a parenting program because I was pregnant and alone. And I remember coming across Miskanawah, and it had traditional teachings. So I was drawn to that right away. And I've built a community for myself, but for my girls, my kids, my boys, to do a ceremony, a lot of different ceremonies. It grounds me. My kids enjoy it. They've helped me a lot. I enjoy the sisters. I go there every Thursday. I'm grateful for the opportunity and build relationships with a bunch of workers here. And yeah, it's been really helpful for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and our final speaker, but certainly not least, what did we say, last but not least, is Michael. Yeah, with the Escapios program, and that's another youth program that's really culturally focused, I guess, from
in Peter's name, my name is Pastor. This is my Buffalo Boy given to me by Pat and Patricia. Started coming here about, I think, almost a year and a half ago. I didn't prepare for this. My mom told me like right when I woke up that I was coming here.
from the heart.
This might sound a little silly, but when I was growing up, I always felt like I was the only Indigenous person. I didn't know anyone else. I didn't know anything about my culture. I just felt completely alone. And that stopped me from actually learning about it because I felt ashamed, regrettably. And I did have opportunities to learn, but I didn't like participate much. Eventually I stopped. I was gonna learn to dance, but then now I'm too anxious to do that. But from what I said last time, I finally feel like I found myself being here. Just connecting with people, even though it might not be from the tribe I'm from, but we're still all related. And I feel like I have a place here.
So that's all of our speakers. Pat, I know we have a couple more things.
One more. What's your daughter's name?
Emily?
Emily, can you stand up, please? 1 to 10 in Cree.
Pia, Misto, Niwa, Nianan, Niatasek, typical, Ainaneo, Gigamet,
Thank you.
It's always so spooky. I don't know the word, but we had an extra card today, and look at that. It was meant to be spooky. I think now we're handing it over to the board.
Okay. My name is Bob Greer. I'm one of the co-chair of the board of Miskanawah, and I've been on the board for 5 years. Lana, I think you're online. Lana is our other co-chair, and we also have Caitlin Lucas. She's our vice chair. So, and then we have several former board members, including Colby. We have a new board member, Justin, Jay. Am I missing anybody? Sandy. There we go. I haven't seen you in a while. Anyways, there's a reason for me to speak today. We don't normally do this, do we, Kirby? Usually, you guys go to the back and shut up. One of our board members, Bill Dixon, he couldn't be here today. It kind of breaks my heart, but he'll be better soon. Anyways, he brought an idea to the board here a while back. Excuse me, you guys. So, anyways, he had an artist named, what was his name? Andrew Blair Holloway, who he was sharing some stuff with. And Andrew said, hey, I've got an idea for you. So Bill got excited, brought it to the board, and we thought, hey, that's a great idea. So did a little bit of studying on this. In the Cree culture, the buffalo holds deep spiritual, cultural, and practical significance. It's not just an animal, but a sacred symbol of life, survival. Excuse me. Well, Bill. And relationship with the land. Key symbolism of the buffalo in Cree culture is sustenance and survival. Traditionally, the buffalo provided Cree with food, shelter, tools, and clothing. Every part of the animal was used. Its meat for nourishment, hide for clothing, shelter, bones for tools, symbolizing respect for life and sustainability. Sacredness and spiritual connection. The buffalo is seen as a gift, and I apologize for reading from my phone, but this is a lot of stuff, and I'm going to read it. So, and its spirit is honored in ceremonies and prayers. It represents abundance, humility, and gratitude. Cree stories often feature the buffalo as being that gave itself to the people so they could live. Resilience and strength. The buffalo's ability to endure harsh winters and vast migrations resonates with the Cree experience of resilience in the face of colonialism and displacement. Sorry, that's probably my ancestry is part of that. It symbolizes endurance, strength, and community. Ceremonial importance. In traditional and modern Cree ceremonies, the buffalo is often invoked or honored as a spiritual presence. It can represent interconnectedness and is sometimes used as a totem animal or a clan symbol even. Revival and reconnection. Today, many Cree communities see buffalo restoration as part of a cultural revival and land reclamation. Bringing the buffalo back to the land is seen as a path to healing, identity, and sovereignty. In short, for the Cree, buffalo is not just an animal, it's a teacher, provider, and relative that embodies the sacred balance between people and the natural world. So why do I talk about this? Well, today we invited a whole bunch of people here that have been former board members, and I asked for Colby to be here. Colby is kind of the backbone for me as a co-chair. Anytime I need some guidance, and I'm sure Patrick, Colby, and Kirby can share many stories. There's probably all of you here who know Colby can talk about his backbone. He is a leader, not just within the Indigenous world, but in the business world. In the Western world, he crosses over with ease. And so I asked, I had a little chat with Colby before. I asked him if he could step up, and we'd like to give something. I wish Mr. Bill was here.
Yeah.
So I'll speak a little bit after present this to Kirby, but not all of you will know who I am. A lot of familiar faces in the room. My name's Colby DeLorme. My traditional name is Ustamau Napio, from Pat and Patsy, of course. I've had the great honor of Kirby and I being very good friends for a long time now, and have had the opportunity to be able to play a role in guiding some of the direction of Miskanawah, and just probably more lucky just being able to be part of an organization that is so incredibly special. But this boards have a unique relationship with a CEO. It's the only employee of the board. The connection to the organization is through the CEO or executive director. There's, probably the greatest relationship being built there at a leadership level. The hope is that it's unbreakable, and it's creating this path or vision of where things could be and could move. Many of you will have worked in not-for-profit organizations where the relationship with the board and the ED or CEO is not easy. They be sometimes fractured or sometimes not strong and not effective in guiding an organization. Fortunately, that's not the case for Miskanawah, and that's due to, I think, some really special individuals who have made up the board over the years, but primarily due to how unique Kirby is. Anybody who has had the opportunity to spend time with Kirby or to work with Kirby or to learn from Kirby realizes that Miskanawah is an extension of who Kirby is. You can see Kirby throughout the whole organization, and it's just an incredibly special person. And the board, past and present, wanted to make sure they could take an opportunity to reflect not only on the leadership that Kirby has provided an organization that he's partially founded as the merging of two organizations, but also recognition for the relationship that he's helped to steward at a leadership level. So Kirby, this is for you from the board. We just so appreciative of who you are and what you've done.
Thanks.
It's a brand new car.
It's a little one, but they're all.
I don't know.
Should see him tear open little kids' gifts. It's like nothing for him.
Yeah, we're all waiting.
While I'm doing this, I'll just say how much I appreciate the stories from the families. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, look at this.
Oh, yeah.
So the buffalo, lava rock, grandfather rock, our logo. And our logo was, Colby played a role in creating that. We we had a lot of discussions about, you know, what we're trying to create. And so obviously it has that fluid circular symbol to it. It's got the 4 directions or 4 colors, Mother Earth, and then the syllabics, which stand for Miskanawah. But yeah, thank you. This is absolutely beautiful. And my goodness.
Bill would have loved to have been here.
Yeah, yeah. Bill, our prayers to Bill and his family for what they're going through. Bob didn't say it, but he's our token white guy on the board. He was gonna have one. I think what I'm most proud of is, you know, as an organization and how we lead. You know, there's still some funders out there and that don't see Miskanawah as an Indigenous organization. And it's because, which is funny, right? But the reality is they define Indigenous organizations through a Western lens. And so at Miskanawah, you know, we strive to influence and change systems so that they more accurately reflect who we are as Indigenous people. And so when you see that diversity on the board and you see how we conduct ourselves in these ceremonies and how the team shows up and the impact that they have, that's how we define ourselves as an Indigenous organization, by what we do each and every day. So you know, I accept this on behalf of Miskanawah, and thanks to, you know, just quickly, there's a time where I actually enjoyed flying under the radar and just staying small. And one of the reasons I did that was because Pat and I and his mom and dad created pathways. And we created pathways because we knew there was this huge urban population, Indigenous population, that was not from Treaty 7. You know, this is Treaty 7 territory. We haven't said that yet today. This is Treaty 7 territory. And so we're visitors here too. But there's this huge urban population that's not from Treaty 7, and you know, we have our own ceremonies, our own protocols, and so we thought we want to create something. I told Pat, Dad, I said I want to create some space for us to do our own thing in our own way on the territory of our Blackfoot brothers and sisters. And so we did that, and we did that in a small way, in a way where we didn't want to offend or disrespect anybody. And eventually, you know, we would, Pat and I would sometimes we'd be in the lodge by ourselves, and then the grandfathers and grandmothers would say, they're coming. And it's like, who's coming? Who's coming? I kept on wondering and never got the answer. But this one time we were over at Mamawatasquin here, and this one dad said, I need a night lodge. And I said, okay. He was from the South, Blackfoot from the South. So I said, okay. I said, it's a ceremony. He goes, yeah. And I said, well, who does it? And he told me who did it. And I said, okay, well, give me his contact information. We'll call him. So we called the old man, and then he said, some of your family want a night lodge here in Calgary. Can you do that? He goes, yeah, I can do that. And he goes, but I need to sweat before I do my night lodge. You guys have a sweat lodge? And I was kind of silent for a bit, and I thought, yeah, but it's Cree. He goes, it doesn't matter. I said, as long as I can sweat. And so Pat and I, we organized a lodge for this guy. And we were in the lodge, we were doing our thing inside the lodge, and they started coming in. And just before the door closed, I lifted up my head, and I seen 6 Blackfoot elders in our Cree sweat lodge. And then I thought, this is who's coming. But you know what we come to understand as the days, weeks, and years went by, they're come to check on us, see who we are and what we're doing. And since then, our relationships have just grown, and Miskanawah is stronger today. We're better able to support our vulnerable families in a meaningful way and meet them where they're at because of those relationships that continue to grow and get stronger. And so they're coming to check on us, and we had a good laugh about that. But it's now there's some, you know, our elders here, they have Blackfoot names, and that's another way of acknowledging who they are and that we're all related. And so I accept that on behalf of all of those families that we serve, have served, and will serve.
Is that our stance?
We're one song, then we're gonna do the go home song. Then we're gonna have hot dogs and bologna.
Talk to you for some closing remarks and guidance about where we're going next.
So with our ceremony, thank you all. We're gonna head downstairs and have our feast. But just thank you for being present and curious and open, and shout out to all my board and former board members for showing up and supporting us. It's great to see so many different faces here and funders here to be, curious and walk alongside us in this journey of Wakoto and living in relationship kinship. And we look forward to continuing that journey with each of you. Ayan and Oscar.